and we're going to kind of jump into this, but I do want to kind of throw out a trigger warning that make sure you take care of yourself on this. I'm going to talk about, and I'm talking about exactly what I've been asked to talk about, which normally takes about 4 different sessions. So here in a minute, you're going to see me starting to sweat and turbo speed because I got so much information I want to give you. But before I start sharing the screen with PowerPoint, I want to say just a kind of a preface to this. First of all, I want you to not only take this to your community, but before you ever get out of this room, I want this information to affect you and your heart. Because if we don't take care of ourselves first and recognize that we have a problem with what I'm carrying around with me or what you're carrying around with you that you have never addressed, then that may be the reason that we're all on this call together, to take care of each other. And that's how we make a strong community, is we look around, we join hands, we join forces with people that we have that divine connection with in the passing in life. And I want to let you know that just in the few times that I have been in the presence of some of you folks on this call right now, it's affected my life. And I will come anywhere to any city in this country and speak and help and talk and share and provide as much as I can. And I don't charge a penny for any of this. And if you also need somebody that needs some counseling, I counsel hundreds of people, and I've never charged $1, and I never will for any of my counseling. I'm not in this for the money. I'm in it for the message. And to be honest with you, I probably ought to pay all of you for allowing me to be with you today, because I'm going to heal, because I'm getting to share my story one more time. So I'm going to try to share my screen, and hopefully you see that. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay, so, okay, wonderful. There's stuff about me. I'm not going to go there. Now, this here is not only a wild picture, but I live in Houston, Texas. So I'm very familiar with what this scene looks like with all the hurricanes that we have here. And I want this to kind of be the preface of what's going on in so many people's lives. And what I call this is the perfect storm. And I just saw that movie with George Clooney the other night on Netflix or something. It was on, and I've kind of watched it again. When everything in the environment in the world sets up in a perfect alignment for something to happen of a major impact that's going to affect you. When that happens, everything starts to go from here to here in a second, in a split second. And I want to just show you what some of those things can be. And as you see this slide here, just on the upper left-hand corner, the community unrest. And I live in Houston, so I don't know in Gallup or other places where you guys are located at. I think we have Delaware here and Alabama and wherever. But in Houston, there's a lot of community unrest. There's a lot of issues still with racism, believe it or not today. Yes, it still is in existence. Riots and mass shootings. And then you go down to the lower left hand and you recognize what's going on in our political world. I don't know if all of this stuff makes your navel pucker, but it sure does me. You don't know who to trust. You get tired of it. I don't care if it's Trump, Harris, or whoever, Biden, whoever's running in it. It just seems like there's so much chaos going on and distrust. And because of that, we don't have a place of safety anymore in our government. And then there's the presidential divide, and then there's police issues. I applaud and lift up our police every time I see them. I try to encourage them and let them know I'm lifting them up in my prayers daily. But I don't know if I'd want to be a police officer. So I applaud those uh, that are on the call right now that have introduced themselves, and I applaud you for the work that you do. But the issues that they're dealing with are truly unbelievable right now. And then you just have on the right hand side, upper left hand corner, the overwhelming negativity in our world. There used to be places where we could go on television late at night, for instance, like the Johnny Carson show, and just laugh ourselves to sleep. Uh, but even the late night talk show host do nothing but bash each other and talk about the negative politics, and then start issuing. It's not a place of rest, relaxation. And then you have the media overload. You know, this cell phone right now that I have in my hand has more power than what our first Apollo mission that went to the moon has. And there's some wonderful things this thing can do, but it's also a dividing tool that divides the way we communicate with each other. Now, yeah, can it provide me an avenue to be able to talk to you on the other side of the country, states away? Absolutely. But it also divides, not only brings us together, but divides who I'm talking to and walking past in the hallway here at Texas Children's Hospital. Most of the people are down doing this. But sadly, so are our parents. They're doing this and they're ignoring what is going on with their children on the other side of the room, or sadly, who is standing right in front of them, screaming for attention, for help, to be noticed, to be loved, to have the eyeball to eyeball discussion. And both sets, the child and the parent, are doing this, watching TikTok, playing on Facebook, seeing how many likes you got, or playing a video game, whatever. But it's becoming a dividing tool, and it's just media overload. And then constant unrest, and then what I call self-motivated chaos. Every time I do a presentation. For instance, I just came back from Dallas, and I spoke 6 times there. Every time I did this self-motivated chaos to me, I'm thinking nobody's going to show up in my room today. I'm going to be alone making this presentation to myself. Um, I do. I'm sometimes my worst enemy. Even today, this very morning, I shaved in the bathroom with electric shaver, and I won't look in the mirror. I sit on the bathroom or the bathroom tub and shave because I can't stand what I look like in the mirror. That's all stuff that I'm doing to myself. I overplay, over listen, over, just reloop and loop and loop all those things that have been said to me as a child. And I can't hit the delete button. And I allow that self motivated stuff to just disrupt my day. And then on the lower right hand side, all the emotional conditions that we're dealing with. One good thing about COVID, I can't find too many good things about COVID, but one good thing about COVID, it indicates to me that we all have issues now. Mental health shouldn't be an issue of shame and guilt anymore, because everybody that's on this call, everybody in our country, everybody in our world went through a pandemic together. We all have issues. It devastated so many people's lives. So let's push the shame and guilt to the side, and embrace it. And that's what my latest book is coming out next month, called Embracing the Scars, Embracing the Pain, so we can figure out what our power, our purpose is for our life. And then we have the physical conditions. And I don't know if you can see this or not, or even want to see this, but I have something right here that is a friend of mine that I have had installed. That's my feeding tube that I've had put into my belly, is because my throat has completely lost all of its nerve endings, and I can't swallow anything solid anymore. I'm basically down to soup, potato chips, crackers, things that can be washed down uh, really quick, that will disintegrate really fast in case I get choked. I never eat before a presentation, because if I do and I start getting choked, it's really ugly, and I don't want to do that to anybody. Uh, and also on top of that, I have Raynaud's disease, I have respiratory disorder, I have lupus, and then recently, I think it was last September, I was diagnosed with Lou Gehrig's disease, and they told me that I wouldn't live um, probably to Christmas of last year. Um, and I basically told the doctors, I'm going to give this to a better doctor, and that's called Dr. Jesus, and I'm not coming back. I'll
Yes.
take your medicine, but I'm not going to go through all the tests and the pokings and the shock systems and everything that Lou Gehrig sometimes requires. I'm just going to start, and that wasn't an easy choice. I'm just going to start booking my speeches all the way through 2025. And I'm not saying no to anybody. And I'm traveling everywhere I can. I'll be in California next week or the following week, Georgia, DC, Chicago, Seattle. I'm going everywhere I can uh, because I don't want to lay down and die. I'm just going to try to impact as many people as I can. But my physical condition is going to hell in a handbasket. Now, is it because I, I didn't take care of myself? No, it's because, and you're going to see here shortly, what caused all that damage. And I want you to lean in when you hear this, because I want to make sure you recognize it could be you too. And then we also see all the social conditions, all the spiritual conditions, and then just basic need resources. And this is what I call the perfect storm. And this is what it looks like in a cartoon format. Okay. You have all this past trauma, because we all have that, right? Then you put on top of that the pandemic, all this bad news that I just shared with you, all the stress of what's going on in the world. And then in the bottom left hand corner, you see a minor inconvenience of a little step. And in that, this little heart that is carrying around all this pain and suffering and pressure and stress has one minor inconvenience, and it totally breaks down. And your brain looks at your heart and goes, I think you're overreacting. How many of you go through this? All it takes is one thing on a certain day, and we just totally break. And it has nothing to do with what that person said or what that phone call meant or that other stack of paper that they came and dropped on your desk. It was the fact that it was just that one last straw that took us to the edge. And we've told ourselves for years that this is us. Hey, I'm just fine and dandy. I am great. How are you? And you just keep on pretending that this is you. Matter of fact, in my second book, When Dark Clouds Come, the title of my second chapter in that book is I'm fine and neither are you, because this I'm fine doesn't work anymore, because in reality, this isn't us. This is us carrying that baggage around with us each and every day. So it basically looks like this. We're carrying this box and this load every day, and you have your own load. You have your own weight. You have your own baggage that you're taking into the very room that you're sitting in right now, to the very place that you're getting your tires changed or your oil changed or wherever the lady was that was at the mechanics. You have your own baggage and you're carrying this along. And I get on the elevator with 8 other people going up to the 10th floor of my office, with 8 other people that's trying to squeeze in with their own box of pain and trauma. And if you really want to know what trauma informed sensitivity is all about, is recognizing that Myra has her baggage. Patrice has hers. Doug has hers. And I can go right down the list of people that's on this call. We all have our own baggage. And let me tell you, this gets heavy, gets really heavy on certain days. And it starts to wear thin on my emotional skin. And it starts poking through to nerves. And it starts affecting how I start interacting with people. Police officers, if you're on right now, caseworkers, social workers, if you're dealing with a case log that is just overwhelmingly large, I want you to hear this because this it could be you. And what you end up wanting to do is numb yourself to what the emotions are that tags you into the next case that you have to go to. But I want to warn you with that because when you start numbing at the office and lean into the camera here, I promise you one thing. You have to. It's a known fact. Scientific research is that when you numb at the office, you will start numbing with your spouse and your family at your home. It will affect everything in your life. And all of those dominoes will start falling and it'll start coming out ugly in you. You have to make sure you get help. You have to make sure you reach out. You have to make sure you have some type of source. I mean, look, I'm looking right here. Yeah, here, right here at my desk. This is just 4 journals that I have going right now in my life. Folks, this is where I bleed. I bleed in these every single day because I've learned over the ages that you better not hold it in. Because if you hold it in and you pretend it's not there, it's going to devastate you. Let me keep going. I wrote a book years ago, 4 or 5 years ago now. It's sold, I think, right at 1.6 million now copies. Not because it's that greatly written, but because there's not that many books by men that talk about this. But the first line in the book goes something like this, that there wasn't a day in my childhood that I could remember that I wasn't sexually abused. All the way back to me being 4 years old, my earliest childhood memory. I don't remember a day after that childhood memory that I wasn't sexually abused by my dad. And this is me on the first day of kindergarten, getting off a school bus. This is my picture in kindergarten. And I use the school bus picture because anything you ever hear about adverse childhood experiences, it always talks about the presence or the absence of an adult buffer. It's important to have an adult buffer in your life. My Uncle Ray, that's in his bibbed overalls in Southern Illinois, where I was born and raised, was my adult buffer. Him and Aunt Dorothy lived about a mile down the road in the country from our house. And my dad would drop me off at their house. I would get on the bus before school there, then go to school, come back, be dropped off there. And then my dad would pick me up after work around 3:30, 4 o'clock every day and take me home. But this was the one place that I felt safe. But I never felt safe with my father. And when this is my first grade picture, when you're in first grade, I don't think we realize what's really going on in our life when sexual abuse is happening every day. Matter of fact, I remember wanting to ask one of my best friends in first grade, "Hey, what's your dad do to you?" Because I didn't know any better. It was just the way of life. It was the fact of life. Every single night, dad would come into my room and sexually abuse me. But when you look on the other side of the page here, of me being 16 years old. That's my homecoming picture. I cut out my date. I didn't think Susan wanted her picture around the world. Uh, but when you're 16 years old and you're dropping off your date at midnight, kissing her goodnight, knowing within 15 minutes you're going to be walking into your house, kissing your dad good evening. Let me tell you, that gets up in your attic and starts shaking everything up. It's like taking a 2 liter bottle of soda and just shaking it moment, hour after hour after hour, waiting for something to happen. And then you just spew all over everything. And that rage, that anger started up inside of me. So I was sexually abused from my earliest childhood memory all the way up to my almost 17th birthday. During my teenage years, I never had the opportunity to take a shower alone. My dad was always in there. He never took a shower alone. I had to be in there with him. I had to sleep with my dad. He would walk in from work, uh, you know, during my teenage years and literally start fondling me and touching me just as if I was his wife type of relationship. And it really got up inside of me, in my head. And this is the vision that I remember seeing every single night. I would hear my mom go to bed, close the bedroom door, and then I would see the amber of my dad lighting his cigarette down the hallway. And then eventually, about 10, 15 minutes later, the door would crack open. He'd go over to the other side of the room and make sure my brother, which was 5 years older than me, we shared rooms. His twin bed was on the other side of the room. He'd go over there, make sure Tony was asleep, and then he'd come back to my side, pull down the sheets, and start in with whatever he wanted to do with me that evening. This is my infamous father. I want you to catch this. Yeah, I'm in Little League. And he looks like a pretty normal fella. I want to let you know he drove a Lincoln Continental. My mom drove a Cadillac. We lived in a predominantly upper middle class white neighborhood. And when you drove by our house, people slowed down and went, whoa, look at that house. We had an in-ground concrete pool in the backyard that became the party place that everybody on weekends would come. Dad and mom's friends would come and get drunk, and that's how the abuse started, to where dad started to sell me to his friends. And the first gang rape that I was involved in, where I was gang raped when I was 11, was from the result of a pool party. But I want to let you know this: we didn't live on the bad side of Detroit. We didn't live on the other side of the tracks where we don't talk about things that happen over there. We didn't live in a low economic standard area. We lived in a very affluent area. Dad was president of the Lions Club. Mom ran the sorority in town. We were known as being a very upper class family. But what happened in that house was absolutely horrific. My dad was the chairman of our trustees of our church. Um, Unbelievable. So if you're looking to the other side of town, I suggest you need to look in your own neighborhood. This isn't just um, happening to certain people, to certain races, to certain economic classes. It's happening everywhere. It's rampant. It is more rampant than COVID ever dreamed of being. It is an absolute pandemic everywhere. Look at my life. Looks like I had a pretty good life. You look at all these pictures. My hair was perfectly combed. I had the cleanest clothes. I had the nicest clothes. I was a straight A student. I sat on the front row. I was president of student council. I missed valedictorian by just a few points, and it really teed me off. But all of that stuff, it looks like I was the ultimate perfect child. But at this age, I had over 4,000 instances of sexual abuse. And over 3 years, from 11 to 14 years old, my dad every Monday night sold me to his friends from 5 to 10 o'clock at night, every Monday evening, in my own bedroom. My bedroom door became a revolving door. At 5 o'clock, the first one would walk in. When they were done, I would wipe down with a beach towel and have time for the next one to walk in. One man, two men, one woman, two women, man, woman. It didn't matter. Whoever it was, I would do whatever they requested of me to do. And when I was done, I'd wipe down for the next one. Maybe 10, 15 people every Monday night um, would come into my bedroom. And I remember I had a little, and I found this the other day, and I'm going to start traveling with this to show people. I had a little Superman cup on the edge of my bedroom dresser. People would drop $1 in there, or a 50-cent piece, or a quarter, and say, "Thanks, kid." And then they would go out and pay my dad, I don't know how much money, but I remember every Monday night we'd sit around the dining room table. I would count my quarters, dimes, and nickels, and he would count his stacks of bills, and we would collect it, and I would use that for my own spending money. And I don't know what he did with his, but he was making an unbelievable amount of money off me. The first time I was raped by 4 people in the presence of my father in my bedroom, held down by 4 people. That's the one night that my dad never touched me. He just watched them touch me. Um, in that group of people was the chief of police, the state's attorney of our county, the morning talk show host of our radio show in our radio station in our town, and one of Dad's best friends. Who's going to believe an 11-year-old kid uh, if I told them that these were the ones that first abused me? And they came back over and over and over as Dad to buy me in the next few years. It was just unbelievable what was going on. But during this, not one time did anyone look at me and say, "Gregory, you okay? Is anything wrong?" Now, back in those days, some of you men, and I'm sure females too, during your PE classes, you had to take um, showers after PE, and the coaches were always there. I have visible scars on the upper inside of my thighs, on my legs, where men didn't even have the decency to pull down their pants. And the zippers off their Levi's would cut so badly into my legs that I still have those scars today. Back in those days, and I think you still have to, and you can tell I was, there's a picture of me being on the basketball team. I had to do sports physicals before you started school. And you know what that means for a man, for a boy. You have to go into a doctor, drop your pants, and the doctor would check you for hernias. I had those scars on my legs during those physical exams, for those sports exams. Not one time did a doctor ever say, "Greg, what are these? Son, are you okay? What's going on?" And I can't imagine on Tuesday morning, after going through what I went through on Monday nights, that my personality wasn't, I couldn't have been that good of an actor, that good of a liar. But nobody ever asked me. And I'm not for sure that I would have told them, "Hey, this is my life. This is what's going on. This is what my heart is dealing with right now." And the world just told me, here's some duct tape, fix it. I never had anybody care enough to help me. So what did I do? I spent 35 years plus being silent and not telling anybody, just like a few of you are right now. Never told a person. I locked all of those demons in the basement, locked the door, and threw the key away and thought, "That'll never come out." Let me tell you, if you have demons in your basement and you don't think they're coming back, They're not down there dead. They're in your basement lifting weights, building strength, and they're going to come up those basement stairs one day and kick through that door. And it's going to be the ugliest thing that's ever happened to your life, either emotionally or physically or relationally or spiritually. One of those Lees in the Lee family is going to come out very ugly. So I beg for you to get help, for you to talk to somebody, for you to journal, because those days of the sound of silence in that song that Art Garfunkel, Simon and Garfunkel, did together back in the 60s. But there's a good version of that I want everybody to watch after they're done. Sound of Silence by the group called Disturbed. And you will feel the rage inside of him in that YouTube song. Unbelievable. I spoke to him. He gave me permission to use his song when I speak at big conferences. I'll use his song and incorporate my pictures with it, but because he didn't have such a great childhood either. But there's a line in the song that goes like this: silence like a cancer grows. And it came back out at me in an ugly, ugly way. And here I am after open heart surgery, 2010, in my mid 40s. And the doctors told me, Greg, there was no medical reason why your heart should have went bad. There's no medical reason. We can't find one. What could it have been? So when I wrote the book, I walked it across the miracle. We call it the Miracle Bridge, right from my office across to the Texas Children's Hospital. Went to the abuse doctor, the head of the abuse center at Texas Children's Hospital, handed him a manuscript and said, "Hey, doctor, do you mind reading this? I'm thinking about publishing." He read it the following week, called me back, said, "Hey, Greg, come back over. Let's have coffee." We had coffee, and he said, "Don't change your word. That's your story. Leave it the way it is." So, okay, thank you. And I got up, get ready to walk out. He said, "Whoa, sit back down. Did they ever figure out what was wrong with your heart?" I said, "No." He said, "There was no medical reason why my heart went bad." He said, "Have you ever heard of ACEs? And if I'm lying, I'm dying." I said, "Yeah, Jack, Queen, King, Ace." And he kind of chuckled. He said, "No, no, no. Adverse childhood experiences." And I said, "No, I never heard of that." He said, "By the time you get back to your office, doctor, and you open up your emails, I'm going to be sending you some peer-reviewed from medical journal articles I want you to read, from New England Journal of Medicine, all of these uppity medical journals that I can't even hardly understand any of the jargon in there. But I started reading this. I thought, oh my God, that's me. What happens to you as a child will come out in you later on in your adult years if you don't get help, if you don't have an adult buffer that you can trust in and share in. And now I speak around the country, around the world, about adverse childhood experiences. Why? Because these are the statistics that you find on the internet. And we all know, right, that everything on the internet is absolutely true. But it says before the age of 18, 1 out of every 4 girls will be sexually abused. 1 out of every 6 boys will be sexually abused before the age of 18. Now, there's a Greek word that I like to use for my thought about those statistics. You ready for this? Write this down. Baloney. Baloney. I don't believe any of those stats. Why? Because this stat is true. 85 to now 93% of those people that have ever been abused take it to their grave and never tell anyone. I personally believe that 50% of the people, of females, 50% of males, will be sexually abused or traumatized before the age of 18. I believe it's 50% or higher. I believe in some communities and you may know these communities well, it's even higher. I believe in some areas, it's even higher. So we need to be able to look at this issue and deal with this issue. And the best way I know how to do this is let you know what the impact of this issue and what it looks like on me. And I've showed you my belly and and in my life. But to put this into perspective, let's put skin on this. Okay. And this is a good way of doing this. I'm just going to barn burn through this, and then I'll take some questions for you. And I hope I'm not putting anybody asleep. But I've been asked to share this portion of my training, so I wanted to do this. I was in San Diego um, getting ready to present at a huge counselors convention, the CCAPP or something like that, the CCAAP or California Counselors Association, yada, 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 yada. And what I ended up doing, like I always do, which when I go back to California next week, I'll do the same thing. I'll get a hotel and go into the hotel and turn on the TV because us men are famous for that, and take a shower, then call DoorDash. And hopefully by the time DoorDash is there, I'll be out of the shower and I'll be able to enjoy a meal. I don't like going out by myself when I go to conventions and conferences. When I went to the San Diego conference, I went to my hotel room, turned on the TV, and there was a Forrest Gump marathon. So Sundance was doing literally one viewing of it after another, just one, two. And I was noticing there's about 30 minutes left to go on this cycle of Forrest Gump. Okay, I'll take a shower, call DoorDash. So got out of the shower, put my PJs on, DoorDash knocked on the door, and then I put the food there on my bed, and Forrest Gump was getting ready to start the new viewing of it. So I just sat there and watched it. I thought, wow, this is a good movie. I don't remember being that good. I thought, why not? Nothing else good on TV that night. I'm going to watch it again. And about halfway through the second viewing of it, I went, whoa, I didn't catch that the first time through. By the time I got to the third viewing of it that night, I had my legal pad out and I was writing as fast as I could. And I filled that legal pad out and I thought, okay, either this is divine intervention or revelation from God, or the food that I got from DoorDash had something in it that soured my mind and my stomach and messed up my thinking. But I started having all these aha moments by watching the movie. So I went back to this floor, went right down the hallway to every one of the administrative assistants that's on this floor that I supervise. And with my notepad, I went down and said, hey, Linda, have you seen Forrest Gump the following Monday when I returned back to Houston? Have you seen Forrest Gump? She said, yeah. Not one person said they hadn't seen it. Everybody had seen it. I said, okay, what's that movie mean to you? And I wrote down what Linda thought. Then I went to Veronica. I said, Veronica, what's the movie Forrest Gump mean to you? And I wrote what she. I went to every one after another, after another, after another. And this is what I found. Some people would throw out the quote, and they'd even imitate his voice. My mama always told me that life was like a box of chocolates, and so I wrote that one down. A lot of people told me, oh, it's that, Tom Hanks is in it, and he uses that quote. And a few people said, my mom always told me the miracles happen every day. Some people don't think so, but they do. And as I kept on going down and writing down their responses, we live pretty darn close to Galveston, and there's a Bubba Gump Shrimp restaurant in Galveston that is talked about in the movie. And Bubba was Forrest's good friend. And he has a quote about Bubba. It says, Bubba was my best good friend. And even I know that ain't something you can find just around the corner. And then one person, I believe it was Jill, mentioned that Sally Field said in that movie, if I remember right, Greg, don't ever let anybody tell you that they're better than you. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, maybe it was bad food that I ate. Maybe it was just indigestion. But I didn't catch any of that because honestly, the movie Forrest Gump isn't about Forrest Gump. It's about Jenny. Now, you'll never see the movie again, but I'm going to put skin on toxic stress right now. Jenny was a young, blonde, blue haired girl. If you remember right, Forrest, first day of school, was wearing his leg braces. Sally Field walks him out to the bus stop, and the bus pulls up. And if you remember right, the bus driver has a cigarette hanging out of the corner of her mouth, and she opens up the door. I don't think they let him smoke on the bus anymore. She opens up the door, and Forrest stands there, and he says, "Hi, I'm Forrest Gump." And she kind of just stares at him, still smoking the cigarette. And she said, and finally she caught that she was supposed to introduce herself, and she did. And Forrest gets on the bus. And you remember this? That horrific walk down the school bus aisle. And all the kids were scooting into the hallway, to the aisle, to where they said, not here, not here, saved, saved, and wouldn't let him sit. And then all of a sudden, let me see, where's that at? Did I go too far? All of a sudden, she moves over, Jenny, and he sees her, and she says, "You can sit here." And the quote that I like, which is really neat, she was like an angel. And then we go through Jenny's complete life, and we see that she returns back to her home and starts recognizing that something's wrong or happened there, and Forrest can't really figure it all out. Because if you remember the movie, she returns back to the home and starts throwing rocks at the house. And there's a good line in there about that too, that goes something like this: sometimes there's just not enough rocks. But if you remember right in this movie, when Forrest and Jenny play in their front yard, you see as children, you see the screen door fly open and you hear this loud voice, "Jenny, get in here." And Jenny grabs Forrest's hand and they run into the cornfield. And if you remember right, uh, they get on their knees. And Jenny says this prayer that's written right there: "Dear God, make me a bird so I can fly far, far away from here." Forrest says, "I don't understand," in the narration of the movie. "I don't understand because Jenny's dad loved her. He was always hugging and kissing on her." Is that a red flag for anybody in the room? I believe so. Uh-oh. Now we know why she ran. But notice about the movie that is really about Jenny. She has one of the most famous lines where she tells Forrest, "Run, Forrest, run." Everybody remembered that quote as I went by and asked them what they thought about the movie. But later on in life, when Forrest joins the military and gets drafted into, and they're being taken to Vietnam, she looks at him and says this in the bottom slide there: "Listen," and she's talking to Forrest, "you promise me something, okay? If you're ever in trouble, don't be brave, just run, okay? Just run." Now, does it take a psychiatrist or a social worker or a doctor to walk into this room today and teach you what the flight, fight, and all those modes are? It's right there. That's the flight mode. Just run. Just run away when pressures get too much, when stress gets too heavy and you're carrying that box of load, you just want to run away. And then we see this throughout the movie, do we not? In Jenny's life, she starts making some bad choices, starts singing butt naked in a strip club. And as she's singing, guy grabs her ankle and sees and starts fighting with him. He takes her outside and said, "Why are you doing this?" And then we see one later on when she ran away to another city that she's balancing herself up on the ledge of a bridge, looking down. You can tell she was wanting to just end it. She's just wanting to get life over with. And I live just a few blocks down the road on Holcomb. My penthouse is on the 19th floor. And there's been nights that I've opened up that balcony door and looked over the edge and thinking, that's not such a bad option anymore. I'm never going to get over this. I'm never going to get better. Life isn't going to be all rosy again for me. I know the final days of my life, once my hands start going, there's days that I can't walk very well. My right leg goes. I'm noticing now that I'm left-handed. My left hand is starting to lose strength. I recognize that my tongue won't be able to function properly. When you go onto the internet and look up Lou Gehrig's disease, the first instance that I had, the first interaction I had from the Lou Gehrig's support group of Houston, Texas, they sent me a catalog of wheelchairs. I sent it back to them and told them, no, thank you. I don't want you to contact me anymore. I'm not going to pick out my wheelchair because I'm never going to be in one. I will be healed from this. But I'm recognizing that that option of ending it all sometimes looks really good. And it may be for you too. And then in this slide, you see that she makes even more wrong choices by getting involved with the wrong people, by doing drugs at a Black Panther party. As a matter of fact, I think Forrest on the way out says, "I'm sorry I disrupted or broke up your Black Panther party," and walks on out. But you see time and time again of because of what happened to her as a child, how it affected her life. Now watch this. Then she returns home and she says, "Forrest, I'm back home, but I'm sick." Now, just recently, I don't know if it was their anniversary of the showing or the director was interviewed uh, about the movie, and the interviewer asked, "Hey, what disease did she have?" And he said, "We never did name it, but we were assuming that it was hepatitis or AIDS because of her lifestyle." Do you recognize that if you have ACEs, that if you have over 6 ACEs in the ACE score of 1 out of 10, it'll shave off 20 years of your life expectancy? And then we see Jenny, there's there's a picture of her tombstone, dies at a fairly young age. You ever wondered why people die in their mid 40s for no medical reason at all, or their body just starts falling apart? Could it be that they're carrying around with them stuff that they've never dealt with? I think so. And I think one of the best quotes that Forrest says in the movie, because he's starting to get it, my mom always said, you got to put the past behind you before you can move on. I think that's a great quote. I think we all need to recognize that. And if I was a betting man, the reason that some of us are in the work that we are in is because we didn't get the right help that we needed when we were kids. And we want to make sure that doesn't happen to one other person. So we've recognized this, but are we understanding and applying this to our own lives? And I hope we all are. So how do you support somebody that has gone through trauma, sexual abuse, and the impact of that? The last slide has them all pieced together, so you don't have to take a picture of each one. Just wait till the last one and it'll be there. But this is some things that I want to encourage you as you start dealing with people with their own boxes, carrying that load, walking down the hall. How do you interact with people like this? And beware, I am circling the airfield. I'm getting ready to land. So I'm going to go through these pretty quick, and then we'll have time for some Q&A. But what do you do? First of all, you need to allow them space. Yeah, space enough, because trauma survivors have difficulty, and I'm trying to be as respectful as I can, from going here to here, because they have no regulation control on their emotions anymore, because that's been destroyed. So when I'm on 288 here in Houston, getting ready to go to church shortly, when I'm done here, I'm going to head down there, and I accidentally cut in front of somebody going to my exit off 288, and they not only honk in Houston, but they wave at you with that one finger, and they may even follow you off the exit ramp. And congratulations, we're in Houston. We have guns and we carry, and we're proud of it. They may even shoot at you at the gas station. Is really the reason they went from here to here like that because you accidentally cut them off? No, it's because this box was so heavy. One more piece of paper or stress put them outside of that zone of being able to deal with the trauma anymore. It was the last straw, and I'll take it out on you. It was that 2-liter bottle of soda as I was a kid, and just you're the one that caused it to be twisted the top off, and I'll spew all over you. We need to allow them an opportunity to step back and breathe. And that space allows them time to calm down. Never somebody that has had trauma, paint them in a corner and then get in their face and go, well, you just chill out. You're carrying 2 buckets in life. One, a bucket of water that can put a fire out, or one, a bucket of gasoline. When you tell a person that's been traumatized, or your spouse at a very volatile time, will you just chill out, calm down? You're putting gasoline on that. They need time to be able to calm down and reflect. We need to get rid of all those recalibrating our verbology of, oh, they're overreacting. Oh, they're oversensitive. Oh, they're over dramatic. Get rid of all of that from their vocabulary and from your vocabulary. They have issues. They deal with things differently. I have every Sunday morning, I take breakfast to church, serve breakfast to all the families and the kids. And I always, the only thing I ask the church members to bring is donuts and donut hose, because the kids like those. Patty came running in one Sunday morning. It was her day to bring donuts and donut hose. And she was literally like this. She said, oh, Greg, you won't believe it. You won't believe it. And I said, what's wrong, Patty? They're out of donut hose at the donut shop across the street. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? The kids. And it was real stress. It was real anxiety. You could see her physically shaking and her bottom lip quivering. It's like, what? They're out of donut hose? Yeah. And I said, okay, wait. And I took about 6 glazed donuts, and I took a knife and I cut them up and said, today we're going to have donut squares. And she literally went, Oh,
Mm.
thank God. Now, you may laugh at that, but that was real anxiety. It was real trauma to her. And if I hadn't known that Patty, I had been counseling her for weeks about her dad abusing her as a child, I would have said, wow, Patty, you need to go get some Prozac. And I would have laughed it off, or I would have just demeaned her and said, come on, what's the big deal? No big deal. The regulation control in her body wasn't there anymore. And it's not. And we need to understand that and open our eyes. So, if we're doing one thing today, I want to give you a different sense, a different set of eyes on how you look at people. Then also, you need to be aware that sometimes, like in this story, the past is intruding with the present. It may not have anything to do with the present at all, just like it wasn't about donut holes. It wasn't about me accidentally cutting somebody off on the highway. It's about what they're dealing with in their own anxiety that's been built up year after year, week after week, whatever it is. And then predictability. Everybody loves surprises? Absolutely not. Most people that have been traumatized hate surprises. I'm one of those. I want control. Control, balance, structure saves me. That's why last night, before I fell asleep, I take about an hour and a half, 2 hour nap. I only power nap at night. Um, I set out my shoes, socks, boxers, shirt, uh, coat, shoe, and everything, so I know exactly what I'm going to wear. Because if I oversleep that 1 minute, it messes up my entire day. So I try to control what I can as much as I can. I don't like surprises. And when you have a child that has been traumatized, that control structure, folks, parents, if you're listening, never tell your kid on the way out as they're going out to see a movie, hey, mom, what time do I have to be back tonight? It doesn't matter. You pick it. No, 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 no. Those kids need structure. They want structure. They may not tell you they want it, but they need structure. They may need boundaries because it gives them a sense of safety. And I guarantee you, they may walk out there whistling Dixie going, oh, yippee. But inside of their mind, they're going, wonder what's wrong with mom? Does she not love me anymore? They want that structure. They need that in their life. Never refer to a person's upbringing, problem, issues, or their behavior. Call it what it is. It's trauma. Give what you also need: listening, empathy, empowerment. Be kind, loving to all those people around you that's on your team, that's in your department, that you work with, your coworkers, your family. But also, you have needs too. Make sure you don't sell yourself short. Take care of yourself with mindfulness. You have to be able to do that. And then allow them a choice. Choice to be able to collaborate, confer, and to cooperate. And allowing them that choice sometimes could be a huge, huge benefit. Now, the wheels are down on the plane, and I am getting ready to land. This is the degrees of stress: positive stress, tolerable stress, toxic stress. I'll go through these real quick. Positive stress: teacher comes in, professor comes into your classroom and goes, okay, class, clear off your desk, pull out a white, clean piece of paper. You automatically go, oh no, it's going to be a quiz. It's not going to give you a flunking grade if you fail it, but it's going to cause you to possibly read that chapter that you were supposed to the night before. Positive stress. Tolerable stress: Uncle Charlie died. You've only met Uncle Charlie once, but that tolerable stress is you have to go to the funeral home with the family and see a dead body in a box. But you have family all around you. You don't know him very well. It's going to be okay. You have family support. But the toxic stress is what goes from here to here, but it never stops. The only way I know how to put skin on this is go out to the parking lot right now and pick a car of your choice and go underneath it and unscrew the oil pan nut and let all the oil pour out on the concrete, and then start the car up and floor the gasoline pedal. It'll go from here to here, and that engine's going to run hot for so long, and then eventually, boom, it's going to pop, right? Because nobody, no engine, no person can stay at this level over and over and over without it affecting them. And this is the official, and I don't do official description very often, but there's the official description. And you're not going to have time to write all that down. But this is how it affects the kids. It causes children to go into the fight, flight, or fright mode. We saw that in Jenny. Short attention span. They start struggling in school, falling behind in school, but not everybody. I got straight A's. They respond to the world as a constant danger, distrustful of adults. You know who I trust in my life right now at 61 years old? Absolutely no one. No one. Because if you get close to me, you're going to screw me over like everybody else did in my life. Because of that stress, that anxiety, that toxicness of my relationships. It's hard to trust anybody. Kids feel the same way. Unable to develop healthy peer relationships, have a feel of failure, despair, shame, frustration. This is what a neuron normally looks like on the left-hand side. This is what happens after toxic stress goes into a body. It starts cutting all the connectors. But back to Forrest Gump. One last thing. In Vietnam, Forrest says on the narration, one day it started raining and it never stopped. And it starts raining. In the middle of the night, Forrest and Bubba are sitting there. And Forrest tells Bubba, hey, Bubba, I'm going to lean up against you. You just lean right back against me. This way, we don't have to sleep with our heads in the mud. Folks, that's exactly what we're doing here today. That's exactly what we need to do with the people that we care about in our community. Tell them that it's raining in life and there is mud all around. But the only way to be able to get through this is us leaning in to each other and taking care of each other. One last thing and I'm done, and then I'll take some questions. This could possibly be the most important slide in the entire presentation. Don't miss this one thing. Not the book, but the eyes. Let me help you. The eyes. I don't know if you see pain in those, but I do. I want you to catch this. Each and every person that's listening to my voice right now, do this with every person that you care about. Every friend, every son, daughter, husband, wife, neighbor, coworker, team member, police officer, whoever. Every day, look in their eyes and ask them this one question. Are you okay? And then don't take your eyes off them. If they don't respond, say it again. Are you okay? And don't allow them to go, oh, mom, oh, dad, you're so stupid. And let them run off. Go, no, wait. Are you okay? And then never take your eyes off them. And then when they respond, yeah, I am, or I'm fine, your BS detector that is inside every one of us, especially in females, will start going like this. And if it starts going high on your personal BS detector, go and tell you what, go ahead and take your books to your room. Go ahead and finish the call or whatever you're on right now. But before this night is over, we're going to sit down and talk. Because that spirit inside of you, when it starts raising red flags, never, ever ignore it. I counsel dozens of people every year that goes, oh my God, Greg, if I'd only I knew I shouldn't have let them go to that party that night. I knew I should have let them stay home. I knew I should have forced them not, but I wanted to be their friend. God didn't give you your children to be their best friend. God gave you your children to be their protector, their discipliner, their foundation, their comfort, their protection. Look in their eyes and ask, are you okay?